Hey everybody, Joseph Varghese here, and welcome to 5-Day Thrive. Today is day number 2. Today is about the power of focus. So if you've been watching the series, you know yesterday was about owning your why, maximizing your energy. Tomorrow is about automating your life for success, breakthrough systems. Thursday is about living courageously, 5 days completion. So this is a series we're doing this week. We do this once a month. It's an opportunity for our members of Success Circles. If you're watching this, like you're likely a member of our Success Circles, one of our peer momentum communities. It's an opportunity to get out of your own way, to hustle a bit and make things happen, to get into the zone of excellence, the zone of being outstanding. And it takes something. So it takes lessons. So within our Success Circles, we teach these lessons, these micro lessons as part of your process. Right? When you have a daily buddy call, when you're able to engage with a peer coach, you're focusing on specific questions each day. You're sharing your big why. It's all a framework. It's all kind of a system. So the more you're on these calls on a consistent basis, you're primed, you're ready to go. You're making those investments after the call toward your most difficult work. And you're making things happen. Your buddy might ask you at some point, well, how have you been living on your edge? What bold, unreasonable requests have you made? And finally, it's about completion. So come Friday, we talk about completion. We talk about the weekly review. We check in on your week, and we might ask you, well, what was the biggest lesson from this past week? So these are all lessons we teach within Success Circles. And today's lesson is very important. It's actually the kind of grandfather of it all. It's about the power of focus. So this idea of focus, right? It's an age-old concept, right? It's about how we kind of harness our minds toward focusing on one thing at a time. It's about focusing on gratitude. So a little backstory here. So some years ago, particularly around after 9/11, I went into a depression. And it was just this long bout of sadness. And for one thing, I lived near the Trade Center. And I would watch hours and hours of television each day. I was on a sabbatical where I could take time off to be able to stay at home. And I got sucked into this whole world of just journalism and news and these things happening around the world, these horrendous things over and over on repeat. And eventually what happened is I went into the sadness. And it was just because my mind was going into this slump. And it wasn't until I popped in the CD one day called Personal Power 2, where the speaker, Tony Robbins, talks about this idea of power questions, focusing on raising standards, focusing on wins or victories, focusing on the magic moments of life, focusing on gratitude, where as I started journaling these things each day, things started shifting, opportunities started coming my way. And it took forcing myself to do this, making this into a habit each day. I had a log file on my computer, and I would just write in each day as far as what my wins were. And I started doing these things. More and more opportunities for growth started coming into my life. I started experiencing more magic moments. I stopped watching television. In 2002, around May, I think it was, a bunch of us applied for the New York City Marathon Lottery. About 20 of us, maybe 20, 30 of us, we applied for it. We would get together for lunch pretty often, and someone challenged all of us to do it, and I won. And I had to train now for the marathon. And something else Tony talks about within those series or in the seminars is physiology. So I started moving and shifting my focus. I had to, my physiology shifted too as well. And pretty soon, even more opportunities started coming my way. My life completely catapulted and shifted to the point where I started immersing myself in growth work. I started taking improv classes. And, I say these things because who I am now is not the same person I was 20 years ago. And I'm a lot happier now. And my focus is a lot more clear now too. And most people who know me and know how unhealthy I was those times in my life will probably tell me that how I occur to them is someone who has made things happen, really playing that game of having it all. So I want to invite you, if you're watching this session right now, you can also play that game of having it all. It's about focusing each day on what's important, about making progress, about making momentum happen. And one of my mentors, Michael Gerber, he launches many of his events and books with this one idea. And the idea is that the most important muscle we can develop as entrepreneurs is our ability to concentrate or focus on one thing at a time. We live in a society, in a world where there's so many distractions all around us. And it's easy to see, Tom, Dick, and Harry, and all these people, friends, family, who might seem like they're accomplishing so much. And when we start comparing ourselves to them, when we start experiencing levels of jealousy, let's say, or judgment toward them for having more or not being a certain way, what happens is we create separation, and we start focusing on things that will not necessarily move the needle forward. So if you're watching this, I want to invite you to move the needle forward every day. Success Circles, your daily buddy call, is that opportunity to move the needle 1% forward each day, or 2 millimeters forward each day. And as you do that every day, having a 20, 30-minute huddle call where you share your why. Yesterday, we talked about the power of why. Um, what happens is that life starts compounding to reward you. And it's like putting a few dollars into an account every few days. And over the course of 10 years, you might be surprised that those few dollars equate to a couple $100,000 over the course of a few decades. And by your willingness to invest that money into the right account, what happens is that could turn into millions, right? And if you study wealth strategies, you know this. So I want to invite you to apply the compound effect to all areas of life. And it's about making the small investments, about focusing each day. It's about having a plan each day toward succeeding, toward greater fulfillment. And it's pretty simple. Where focus goes, energy flows. And I'll also add in, so if you're in Success Circles, we're all about setting an intention, setting a theme for the week, setting a theme for the week, for the month. And it's beyond, its focus is one thing. It's also your intention. So where focus and intention go, energy flows. That's what I believe. That's what we believe. So it's really about your intention toward your day, and your intention toward getting things done. Your intention, let's say in a relationship, your intention really magnifies as you show up in your relationship. So I want to invite you. So it's a little more than just focusing on one thing, or, like just locking yourself up in a place, trying to, have a vision for the future and going toward your vision. It's a bit more than that. It's also in how you play the game. And one of our taglines in Success Circles is dare to play a bigger game. So we look at life as a game. I want to invite you to see your day as a game. And if your day is a game, then tomorrow is an opportunity to make tomorrow's day even better than today. And the next day is an opportunity to make tomorrow next day even better. So you get the idea. It's pretty simple. So it's about embracing betterness every day. When you do that, right? When you have that little shift, I want to be a better person today than I was yesterday. What happens is you start shifting. I was talking with my wife earlier today, and who I am now across different areas of life is indeed better than I was 6 years ago when she met me, in terms of how I look at the world, my finances, my environment, my peer group, how I embrace fun, I sing, right? All these things that I wasn't doing years ago that are now part of my life now, because I just choose to focus on these things each day. And just reflecting on a quote earlier, and the quote goes something like this, and that I sing to be happy, and I sing to be happy. I'm not happy to sing, right? And it's a kind of an older quote, sort of from a couple of centuries old. And there's so much truth in that. So I sing each day. I sing to my kids. I wake my daughter up, I sing to her. Her name is Jasmine. And as I do that, something internally within me shifts as I sing to my daughter in the morning when I wake her up. And sometimes I sing to my wife, and I sing in the car, and I make up words. And I do that because it just makes me happy. My focus now shifts toward this musical, vocal, beauty, in me, around me. And it's not perfect. Sometimes it sounds kind of goofy, but it's funny. It makes people laugh. And it's just simply, for me, when I sing, it brings me further to happiness. So I want to invite you to choose rituals in your life that make you happy. For us in Success Circles, it's your momentum buddy call. Investing those 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes on that call makes all the difference. Most of our members tell us that it generates the most momentum for themselves in their morning. And that's really extraordinary. We hear that time in, time out. Get a momentum.buzz. You can read about that there. Pretty simple. That daily huddle, right? Every sport has a huddle. That daily huddle is the number one thing our members tell us they do beyond meditation, prayer. Um, that sets the context for their day. That sets their focus for their day, where their intention is clear. They know you're their why. And you're extraordinary. If you're watching this so far, I want to invite you to see that you're a hero. You're a leader. You're a kick-ass leader out there. And if you're watching this, I know that you're looking to like raise your game a little more. So I want to invite you tomorrow on your huddle call, or if you're not in Success Circles, check out successcircles.com. Be on your edge a little more. Live a little more courageously. Because if you can do that each day, also aim to be a bit more bold or courageous. It means the same thing. What happens is that your world will expand a bit more. The ceiling will start rising, or might even completely disappear eventually. And this is about being courageous in your actions, in your requests, in your relationships, in your environment. And it's a small investment. It's simply a matter of focusing. And we'll cover that more on the day 4 call, which is Thursday, which is about living courageously, making bold requests. So yeah, so back to the lesson. So it's all about focus, right? The number one resource you have, the thing you can control each day, day in, day out, is your focus. It's nothing else, right? The greater the presence you have, the greater the focus you have in your relationship toward your kids, the greater the investment you make toward them, the greater the focus you have when you need to on generating revenue, making those sales calls. Let's say you need to do that. If you're focused on your clients and adding value, then you'll get rewarded at the same time. If you're focused, let's say you're spiritual and you read the Torah or the Bible, and if you're putting your attention on that each day, your concentration on that, really being with it, the words, the language, and what it means to you, then your experience of God's love enveloping you might change, might shift. But it's really a matter of focus. Where focus and intention go, energy flows. Pretty simple. I want to share something very briefly that I rarely share. So my mom is one of several siblings. She's the oldest woman in her family. And there are other siblings born before her, but they died in stillbirth. So when my mom was born, as the oldest at that point, her parents were just so happy and giddy, right? And she became the leader, as most firstborn children become. She became a leader in her family. And one day she went off to college, to nursing school, and she had a younger sister. And her younger sister, probably the age of 11 or 12, she was out drying clothes by the rocks. There were wells in India back then in the 1950s, and she was drying clothes, and she got bit by a snake. And some point afterwards, she passed away. Now, how sad as that was, her younger brother, his name is Joy, maybe around 8 years old, so sad about losing his next older sibling. He was devastated. And not having the tools toward being resourceful, which you and I do, right? And he made a really bad decision. So one day he came home from school, and at least what I've been told over the years is that he put rat poison in his food, and in the food, in all the food in the dinner table, basically put rat poison in his mom's food as she was preparing it. And he dug into it, and he communicated to his mom before anyone else could eat that he had done that. But it was too late. He'd already consumed the food. He died in a short amount of time. And his brother, Mohan, he, as a 4-year-old, witnessed this whole thing happen at the dinner table. And he never grew beyond that, or there's certain aspects of who he was, his personality, that didn't evolve beyond that 4-year-old. And I know this because this man lived in our house growing up. When I was growing up, he helped raise me partly. He would take me to the park. Later in life, I had the opportunity of bringing him into my house and taking care of him. when he was struggling with alcohol after he came out of prison. It's a challenging experience. And I got to see that he just didn't evolve beyond that point. And his whole life was just focused on this tragedy that he had, losing his sister and, other circumstances that happened to him. And I say that not to bring woe to my family. The challenge, we have a great family, we have an amazing family. My mom, my dad have done tremendous things. They brought thousands of people into this country, to the United States. And they're immensely resourceful over the years to be able to do that. Yet, you know, in every family is often this tragedy. I've been thinking about this today, actually, and once again, it's where focus goes. It's Suicide Prevention Day, so it's on my mind currently, and I'm relating it to this whole nature of focus. Where focus goes, energy flows. So I want to invite you to focus on good things, focus on momentum, moving forward, on progress. Happiness equals progress. If you start seeing yourself making 1% progress each day, you'll start feeling levels of happiness you've never felt before. I promise you that. It's that simple. It's just making progress. And if you need support, reach out to me within the Success Circles community, or come to one of our meetings. We have a community in New York City called the New York Power Team. It's the largest peak performance meetup in New York City. We have a lot of fun. We celebrate quite a bit. Go to a spiritual community. You are so loved. You are so amazingly loved. So go to a spiritual community and realize that you're connected. I wear this band at times, and it's called Fiercely United. And I wear that because it's just recognizing that I'm connected to you and everyone around me. When you see that, when you cut out all the separation, when you focus on that, on adding value in the world and creating impact in the world, what happens is you will be happy all the time. I'm happy all the time. Generally am, because it's my intention, my focus is that my environment calls on that. I'm focusing on my family, my kids, places I want to go on vacation. I've got this Serenity Prayer next to me, and then I've got this giant tree behind me, and just focusing on things that really move me forward. So I want to invite you to play that game too as well. Thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate you. And I want to say that I love you. If you're a member of our community, I love you in general. I love all people. But I want to just say that because you are so loved, and there's a creator out there who loves you fully for who you are. So rock it out, mind your focus, and live life fully. Thanks so much. Cheers.